That's Senator Jackson.
Sounds like it.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Okay.
Give it one more moment.
Well, Delegate Long is not here. You want to offer prayer in his place from Calvert County?
Was that request for me? And bless you, by the way.
If not, I'll do a quick prayer.
Okay, you're all set, Delegate Patterson. You're going live.
Good morning. Today is Friday, January the 24th, 2025. I'm Delegate Edith Patterson, and welcome to the Southern Maryland Delegation meeting. Today, we're focusing on many of our agencies that help our constituents throughout Southern Maryland, as well as welcoming Senator Van Hollen later on. So I'm going to ask Delegate Todd Morgan if he would lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Edith. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you Delegate Morgan. Is Delegate Long on?
It's not recognizing them.
Not yet, no.
All right, I'm going to ask us if you would please bow our heads. Heavenly Father, as we gather here this morning, we ask for their divine intervention. Give us the knowledge and wisdom to be adherent to the issues and challenges of the agencies that we will hear today. We thank thee for all blessings. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. As I mentioned before, I am so delighted that we're having the opportunity to hear from three key agencies this morning. The Southern Maryland Tri-County Community Action, Dr. Michael Young, Alpha's Wellness, Sean Smith, and Catholic Charities or Angels Watch, Amanda Chesney. I would like to note that December the 9th, 2024, Delegate Todd Morgan, and I had the chance to meet with Dr. Young and members of his board. We toured the facility and we had a chance to look firsthand at some of the issues. Alpha Wellness, if you haven't visited the facility in La Plata, it is simply amazing, beautiful. I think they also have a virtual information as well. Simply beautiful, very impressive. And lastly, Catholic Charities, a new facility. I was there in November and met with the residents, and we appreciate all that you're doing. Again, certainly Tri-County and Catholic Charities are Southern Maryland Tri-County initiatives. So good morning, everyone, and we will start with Dr. Young.
Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year's. First, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning to present. Thank you, Delegate Patterson, for your leadership and commitment and the opportunity to invite. I'm here this morning as a follow-up to the tour and the letter that was sent out to the Southern Maryland delegation back in October regarding our facility crisis that we find ourselves in today. And we desperately need your help and support. Our facility is located at 8383 Old Leonardtown Road in Hughesville and had to be abruptly closed recently due to the major mold issues and renovation challenges that we find ourselves in. This particular building, which we own, has 2 stories. It has 8,000 square feet. It was constructed in 1946, so it's about 80 years old. The building currently has 4 one-bedroom apartments upstairs, 16 offices, 1 conference room, 1 copy room, and 2 restrooms and storage spaces downstairs. The facility crisis is disruptive because we have staff that are placed all over all 3 counties. We have people that provide services in Charles County, but their office is now in Calvert County. We provide services in person. Majority of are received in Hughesville. Services include housing counseling, emergency assistance, energy assistance, affordable housing, apartments, case management, family advocacy, and an array of training services to include CDL and job placement. For nearly 60 years, the agency has been the cornerstone in providing essential services to residents in Calvert, St. Mary's, and Charles County, and some of the border counties of Southern Maryland. In FY24, we served 24,000 households with 11,200 from Charles County, 8,000 from St. Mary's County, and 5,000 from Calvert County. This represents about 83,317 individuals who benefited from our services. The aging infrastructure of our facility may hinder our ability to offer these vital services and programs in the same way. This is especially concerning as we continue to see a rise in demand of our services, particularly in the areas of emergency assistance and emergency food. Since before and after the pandemic, our numbers are increasing, not decreasing, since the pandemic. We are seeking funding to address the most critical needs, including the planning, design, the remediations, the renovation, and equipping the facility. These improvements are not only necessary to maintain our operations, but also to expand our capacity to meet the growing demands of our community. According to our architect and engineer consultant last fall, it is estimated that about $800,000 is needed to do the renovation, but to maintain the residential use upstairs, the costs would likely be more, as the project would be required to comply with current building codes that would likely involve the installation of a sprinkler system, mechanical systems for the units, new plumbing, electrical, and a firewall and ADA compliance. The building is in a historical preservation area, so this has to be factored into the renovation plan as well. So time is of the essence to address these structural issues, and we are hopeful that you will join us and support our effort to secure resources so that the agency's lifeline for those who depend on our services. We thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
All right, Carrie, if you can help me if there are any questions, but Dr. Young, when we were there, we offered some suggestions, but I think a question was asked about funding and support. Can you go over that with us again? I'm always concerned and when we have a tri-county that we get support from tri-county, from the three counties, Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's.
Mhm. So back in 2022, 2021, we recognized two of our facilities needed to be renovated. We renovated the Stuckey building because there are three at the central office in Hughesville. We secured funding for the downstairs location only, and that was through the Office of Head Start. But the regulations and the timeline in which to get the money obligated and spent had passed. We only had a certain timeline to get that done. And back then there was delays in construction, shortage in supplies and materials. We could not get through all the hurdles for the permits to get the money spent by the federal government's timeline. So that opportunity was lost. So since then, we have not been able to secure funding to support the renovation of that building. But recently in the fall, we found out we had a mold issue. That's the reason why we had to close the facility.
Okay, Senator Jackson, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great to see you, Dr. Young. Couple of quick questions for you, sir. There was a report that the Southern Maryland delegation had a short while ago, and there were some concerns that were noted in that report. I think between the services that you provide for the 3 counties, which are vital, we want to be of assistance. I think we have to come up with some sort of plan to make sure that as we're moving in one direction to try to help you and to work with you, that we don't get so far out front that we're not taking care of the foundational core issues that must be taken care of for your sustaining services. I certainly appreciate you all being here. I was not able to, we are citizen legislatures, a citizen legislature, which means that some of us have day jobs, during that 9-month period. But I do plan to come down and visit your facility. Any information that you have, please share. I'm not the chair, but please share with every member, but certainly for me, because you are in Hughesville. I would love to be, as the delegation would love to be a partner with you, but you need to come up with a strategy that makes sense as we walk this challenge down to get you back on track. And we just need to do it strategically. So good morning, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Jackson. And I did take some videos, trying to be an amateur videographer, and I will share with some members of the Southern Maryland delegation as well. Delegate Davis.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Young, for bringing your staff over to see me. You do great work. And I missed the tour also, but you do great work. I would love to come out and see it again, see it for the first time. And I find it difficult to figure out exactly what you need. Do you have numbers, absolute numbers, construction numbers, so that we know exactly what you need?
We're working on that. Unfortunately, the architect and engineer that we were working with over the last 5 years retired on us. So we have to find another leader to help support where we are. He did give us preliminary numbers in terms of what he thought the cost would be back in September. So, that was months ago. So, we're working on that.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what report, Mr. Jackson, that you're referring to, but we certainly will address whatever concerns that the delegation would have about the financial aspects of our agency.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you very much. Kara, am I good to move on?
Yes, no
All
other
right.
questions.
Thank you. And again, we encourage the members to visit all 3 facilities to get a better sense of what they do and also some of their critical needs. I'd like to welcome Sean Smith, Alpha's Wellness. Again, we are located in La Plata. It's a beautiful, beautiful facility.
Hi, Delegate Patterson and everybody. Thank you for the time. It looks like I'm having some trouble sharing my screen. Delegate Patterson, could I potentially attempt to share just so I could show?
You have access to share.
Okay, let me see if that's feasible. One moment. All right, can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So just very quickly, I'm not going to share this full presentation. My CSO, James Getson, put this together for me yesterday. And after I got it, I said, well, it's a bit long-winded. I got five to 10 minutes. So anyway, just a quick introduction. I am Sean Smith. I am the founder and CEO of Alpass Wellness. And I just wanted to thank everybody, and a special thank you, of course, to Delegate Patterson, who's been an awesome advocate for Alpass since we've arrived in Maryland. And the 2 main reasons for wanting to present today, the primary reason was to raise awareness of Alpass so that the state knows we're a critical resource for its constituents and community as a whole. And secondarily, I think it's important to highlight the significant challenges that we faced, probably more specifically to the fact that we're a startup And that so maybe the future providers don't share in the same experiences that myself and my team had. And I think it's important to have that heard as well. So very quickly, I'll just speak to who we are. My mission, Gandhi always said that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And for me, that really hit home. When I started this business, I really wanted to be able to give back and do for others. And to do that in a very creative way. And so Alpass's mission, you can see here on the board, is just simply to provide a safe and inclusive environment for folks, for our patients when they come into our facility, so that they feel safe and they feel at peace, and they can do the deep work that needs to be done while they're in our facility, but also so that their loved ones and family can feel comfortable knowing that they're in a safe and inclusive place as well. And so what is Alpass? What do we do? We are an inpatient residential treatment center. We provide both detoxification level of care, so 3.7 and 3.7 WM. We are quite literally a step below a acute care facility or hospital. And we also provide 3.5 level of care, which is residential care. Folks with us are transient. They come in, they stay anywhere from a detox length of stay, which is 7 to 10 days, up to 30, sometimes 45, 60, 90-day stays. So that's basically who we are. And what does Alpass mean? I'm sure people are wondering what that term is. It's a Tagalog word from the Philippines, and it just means to break free. So break free the constraints of addiction, of behavioral health concerns, mental health concerns. It's basically, we're looking to break that cycle and make folks whole again, which is also, as you can see, our logo here shares in that notion of becoming whole again. So Alpass at a glance, we are a 108-bed facility, fully licensed by both the state and Joint Commission. As of right now, we have 3 units open. I think we're running between probably a little north of a 40-patient census currently. That's also indicative of this time of the year. The end of the fourth quarter and in the start of the first quarter tends to be the slowest time of the year in our space. So things have been ticking up for us over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Currently, we employ a little bit north of 130 employees at Alpass. And you can see some of the other quick data points, and I'd be happy to share this information afterwards. This is just another chart here that just shows the symptomology from when patients come in to when they leave, and the efficacy of our program so far, very, very positive. In 2024, we really opened in May. We treated a little north of 350 patients. This year, we anticipate to be over 850, and at stabilization, we'll probably treat roughly 1,200 patients a year, between 1,200 and 1,500 patients. These are some images of the facility itself. As Delegate Patterson said, she's been out to the facility before. We spent a great amount of time in curating the space so that it's very intuitive, intentional, purpose designed, and so that folks can really excel in their treatment experience at our facility. There's a lot of unique aspects that separate us from our competitors. We have 6 units, every unit stationed with its own nurses station. Every patient has its own iPad in terms of technology. There's a lot of differentiators when you go through our program that definitely separate us from the other folks in and around the territory and honestly across the country. I won't really get into the overall approach, that gets a little into the weeds, but essentially we're a DBT and CPT core curriculum that's a bit more aggressive than your average cognitive behavioral therapy program, which means we can handle high level trauma therapy, folks with major depressive disorders. We can handle a much higher caseload in terms of the intensity and acuity of the cases. And again, speaking to differentiators, the Alpass environment in and of itself is very unique. We have the University of Penn shingle attached to us. We're doing research right now with the University of Penn. We have 2 unique refresh rooms in the facility that offer an opportunity both for our staff to leverage and for the patients to leverage. And then also in terms of technology, as I mentioned, we have an iPad that offers autonomy to our patients. And then another example is our biometric ring with Preta. This quite literally gives us real-time feedback on the patients at all times during their stay with us. Very important if somebody's reporting issues with sleeping, well, we can see how well they're sleeping at night. If somebody's reporting they feel their blood pressure's high, well, we can catch that. If their heart rate's up, we can catch that. We can see how their oxygen levels are, et cetera. This stuff all just plays into being able to provide the highest quality of care possible. So all very, very important things to us, and that definitely separate us from our competitors and put us in a space really of our own. And we've been fortunately received extremely well, particularly by folks like Ashley's and some of the other big providers within the state. And so the other big point that I wanted to make and have a quick conversation about was just the overall process and my experience from when I took this facility over. So just a very quick background, it's a large facility. It's about 70,000 square feet. It was a former Sage Point facility. They are assisted living. They actually never opened the facility. They had built the bones of it and then never got a UNO. So when we took it over, we came in, we did a retrofit of the facility, did a substantial amount of construction on it to improve it and ameliorate it to what our use is. And so in terms of the process, though, just to paint the picture, for example, District of Columbia has reported, and even as of last year, had the highest addiction rate in the country. And earlier and into the end of last year, had the highest overdose death rate. Right now, over the last 3 months, I'm not sure where it stands, but historically speaking, even DC, for example, tends to be in the very, very top in terms of overdose death rates and addiction rates in general terms. So it's a very much needed resource in and around this entire state. And so when we targeted Maryland, it made a lot of sense. And in speaking with the folks that run things, we thought it made a lot of sense for us to come in and create our facility and give this thing a run up the flagpole. What I could tell you is, knowing what I know now, I have to be frank, I'm not certain I would have done it, because I truthfully, it has been such a financial burden on my organization. It's very difficult to just put into words in a couple minutes. But for perspective, I put this timeline together with my team. And so from the moment that we start, it takes on average for a provider such as us 18 months just to get a certificate of need. That's simply just to say, hey, there's a need in the state for your use here, and you can come in and move forward with licensing. And so you can see March 2022 was when we applied for our certificate of need. It took us until June of 2023 just to get granted that. Now, we did it in 16 months. On average, it takes up to 18 months. Once you're granted that CON, though, you're still not able to open. We have a fully licensed kitchen, and so we have to work with the Department of Health. That process moved relatively quick. However, what we ran into once we hit the BHA licensing was, in order to get licensed in the state with the BHA, we are required to staff for the units that we intend on opening. And I think this is very important to note. At that point, in and around October, November range, when we were moving forward with our licensing, we were at that point forced to staff. So I was fully staffed as of November for 2 of my units with a burn rate of around $1 million a month, all in terms of the staffing and all the carrying costs and working capital needs to keep the facility up and going. That's a requirement to get approved for our licensure. So as of November, we got approved in 2023. I'm fully staffed. Then the interesting thing that happens is there is a 5-week lapse from the time that you're approved until you're actually able to move forward with all the other processes, because we actually need the hard copy of our licensure. And so they send that licensure up to the state. I think it's the Secretary of Health to sign it. It took 5 weeks. So that was a month and a week. And if you can imagine my burn rate just on waiting for that piece of paper, to be able to move forward then with my 224 cert and 363 cert. These are just things I'm stating. Nobody probably really understands them. It is convoluted, but the point is each process, they don't run in parallel, nothing's streamlined. And so every step, it costs a substantial amount of money because I'm sitting staffed unable to open. And so unbeknownst to us, after we received our approval for licensure, it took another 5 weeks. I'm sitting there staffed. Then we get the piece of paper. We can finally move forward with the DEA and the CDS. And then what we came to learn from the DEA, and you could see the timeline here. Now we're all the way into March. So this is November, I'm staffed. Now I'm in March, still unable to treat. And what's important about the 224 cert is that is what permits me to, we provide the detoxification level of care. I have acutely ill patients that come in. We need to be able to provide medically managed therapies to them, medication-assisted therapies. And without the 224 cert, or at least at that time, we were unaware of any other way to actually provide care to our patients. And so from November to March, we learned that we're not actually qualified for a 224 cert. Now, this is a fascinating thing because in any other state that I've been in or worked in, we've gotten 224 certs. So we immediately were hounding the doors of the BHA to try to figure out what the heck's going on. We actually got the DEA involved. We actually had a letter written by Congressman Hoyer to the DEA, which happened back in, I'm going to say, March of 2024. We have never received a reply from the DEA on behalf of that. But in working with the field agent at the DEA, and he was very, very kind, Will Reed, he was excellent, the supervisor. What I came to learn very quickly was there are actually many other providers in the state of Maryland that have a 224 cert that provide the same level of care that we do. And so, long story short, we still don't have the cert. But what we ended up finding out was a workaround from the DEA in the interim while we try to figure this out. Now, I'm sitting here in 2025, I still haven't received the 224 cert or a response from the DEA on that front. But I think all in all, my point to all of this was it took now past roughly 6 months from essentially November, when we were fully staffed, until May, where I basically had to eat the expenses, which were roughly $1 million a month. And on top of that, not be able to generate a single cent of revenue. And to me, it was just a fascinating experience to go through because it not only that, and you take into the account that 18 months just to get a certificate of need approval when the state desperately needs this type of service. It was just a fascinating experience. And looking back at the amount of money that it's cost my business, it is very hard to wrap my head around it and say, well, I don't know another startup, quite frankly, that would have been able to come into this state and be able to withstand the burden that was placed upon us. And so with all of that, I thought it was very important that the delegates, the folks that, that are actually helping make sure that things get done in this state, at least hear from me directly part of the experience that I went through. Now, I know it's a little long-winded, and I tried to run through this as quickly as possible. I'll hang it up there. What I will say is we've been a wonderful service to the community. I've been extremely well received by the overall community, our peers, the folks that we work with in general terms. But when it comes to the, working through the regulatory components and getting in and providing care, it frankly was a nightmare. And it cost my business north of $7 million in a matter of 6 months. That we frankly could not anticipate. And so with that, I just thought it was important for all of you to hear it. I very much appreciate the opportunity to be able to express it. And I do want folks to know we are an amazing resource for the community. We are out here saving lives, doing what we can. We're happy to do anything that we can to be a further resource to the state of Maryland and the southern Maryland in particular. And so with that, I'll hang it up, but I appreciate everybody's time.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you too. And the reason I let you extend the dialogue is because I am aware of some of the challenges. But most of all, if you're able to possibly arrange a meeting, a private meeting with some of the members of the delegation, I would prefer or suggest that you offer what it is we can do, whether at the state level or the federal level, or both working together. I know there were some concerns about having veterans providing services for them. I'm aware there were some challenges with the health department, and I'm really sorry that that happened to you. But again, we may have you come back mid-session, if that's okay.
I know, look, I understand this is a lot, and I just appreciate the opportunity to even try to run through it. And yes, we are developing a niche program for the military, for the veterans, working with Care in the Community. We're in with TRICARE currently. We are in network with Care First, the largest provider in the state, or excuse me, carrier in the state. So we're a huge resource, and we are working on developing the military component as well. Up on our third floor, it'll be its own little sanctuary, and we've been getting some positive traction on that. But I actually, for me, Delegate Patterson, was really just about bringing this to light. And if it's not for me, I'm not even necessarily asking for something at this point. I mean, I'm winding, I'm surviving the storm, but I think for future folks that want to come in, to me, it's imperative to note this experience. I certainly don't think anybody else without the financial dexterities that they'd be able to survive such a hardship. And so from my perspective, I wanted to bring it to light. I don't think it should take 26 months to open a treatment center in the state of Maryland.
We concur with that.
Yeah.
And as I said before, we're really sorry that happened. All right, if you would stop screen sharing.
No
And
problem.
again, I'm going to encourage the members to visit the facility and to have a one-on-one with Sean. And I realize that I probably mispronounced it's Alphas, Pass versus Alphas. Okay. Thank you very, very much. And please continue to reach out. All right. All right. Senator Van Hollen is coming on in at 9:40, we're told. So let's go with Catholic Charities and what's going on there.
Sure.
Amanda?
Hi, yeah. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having us today. I'm here, and it's so nice to see some familiar faces, and I appreciate you all just continuing to support our cause and the work of a lot of our fellow colleagues in the homeless emergency space in Southern Maryland. So thank you very much for having us. My colleague Lisa Case is here with me as well. And I can share my screen and I will get through our presentation. For those of you who don't know us, Catholic Charities is it's a large, well-respected social service agency in our region. We have a footprint that covers Southern Maryland, which is our Tri-County area, Prince George's and Montgomery County in Maryland, as well as the District of Columbia. I am the executive director of our Housing and Homeless Service Division, and we have 5 different divisions within our agency that cover employment, enterprise, and education, developmental disabilities services, and immigration legal services for the Newcomers Network. And I think we have a lot going on. Generally, our focus in Southern Maryland is food and emergency shelter in coordination for those services. So I will start sharing. 1 second. And hopefully you all can see. Yeah, that looks right. And I'm happy to share this out afterwards if that helps you all. I don't want to take up time before our esteemed senator comes by too. So gave you a quick run through. These are all the different things we do. We have some ability to do all of these things in Southern Maryland. like I said, right now we are focused on the food insecurity and shelter. And our Angels Watch Family Emergency Shelter has been up and running since December 2018. We serve about 120 beds a night, up to 120 beds a night. Right now, we are open for hypothermia season. During the cold winter months, we built purposely a multi-purpose room in our facility to make sure folks can come up off the street in the extreme cold. And we expand our capacity by 10 to 20 beds, depending on need and configuration, to make sure no one, frankly, dies outside during hypothermia season. So we are pretty full at the moment. Last year, we did serve, last fiscal year, we served 316 people. That counts children. At any given point, we're about half full with children in our facility. It is a very purpose-built facility. We have 30 individual rooms that are locked. They have their own private bathroom and 2 sets of bunks so families can stay together, which is a really big deal when folks are going through the trauma of being homeless. We've had a great connection with our fellow local homelessness coalition for many years. We were operating our facility in Hughesville prior to moving to our new beautiful space in Waldorf. We are working really hard to keep the doors open, like many of our colleagues that shared today. It's a challenge. I think there are several things that we can go through where there is need. These are just a few quick, I'm sorry, your little picture boxes in the way on my screen. Here are a few quick stats in terms of who we serve. Our facility is in Charles County physically. We do tend to see many more people from Charles County than the other 3 counties of St. Mary's and Calvert, but we do serve all 3, which is unique to an emergency shelter. Sometimes funding can be very strict and only allow for only Charles County or only St. Mary's County, but we are able to serve all 3, and we did that intentionally. We are the largest family shelter in our region, and we often have a wait list to get in. But we are working hard. Actually, just this last fiscal year that closed, we are in the 82 percentile of people served that have positively exited to a more permanent situation within 6 months, which is huge, as you'll see, and probably many of you know. The cost of living is not decreasing in our area. Generally, the amount of homelessness experienced in an area goes up with the cost of living and the cost of housing burden. For many of our clients, they are working 2 or more jobs, and at minimum wage, it's really difficult to afford even a 1-bedroom unit for their families. So it does take a great deal of creativity and intensive case management to help folks connect the dots where they can and increase their opportunities. We do have a lot of great partnerships. We are meeting actually next week with the College of Southern Maryland to solidify some plans to increase economic opportunities and certification programming access for our clients that want to gain certifications and increase their income. For a lot of them, this is really the only way to get a leg up and not come back into homelessness, is to increase their income and have a better outcome for their family altogether. So we are working really hard and creatively as possible to make sure people don't come back into homelessness. That is our goal. We are a 24/7 facility. We have about 26 staff. We're 24/7. We got a locked front door, can only buzz in with certain words to say. We do serve some folks that are escaping or have a history of domestic violence. And so it was important to us that we were staffed overnight and all throughout the day to ensure safety. 24-hour staffing costs money, as our colleague shared before. There's a lot of expenses in running a facility like this. We do run other facilities similar in, in District of Columbia. And that city pays for the food service, the transportation, and the facility operations of our buildings that we run there. In this case, we are responsible for all of it. We do have into funding. We do have some reoccurring funding from the state, and that's in the form of the Maryland Housing Solutions Program. That has been a real lifeline, and we are grateful that that fund exists and provides support to vital services like ours across our region. We are certainly advocating that that increases across the year. That tends to be our only resource for reoccurring funding for emergency services, which is a real challenge for us. This is a picture of how it typically comes together in terms of funding. We have about a 1.4 million budget annually. And as I said, our renewable funding is this number. Our deficit is usually pretty high. So we are wanting to draw your attention to some ways that you guys can learn and pitch in. There are some things coming up. The House Bill 93, the state is wanting to develop a certification program for emergency shelters, which is great. And I think they're trying to set a standard of performance and service delivery. I'm confident that we will meet any standard that is laid down. What I do need is the state to step up and support and fund the vital services that they're wanting to certify. Right now, that's not a part of the plan.
Chelsea, is that the only bill that you're asking us to support, House Bill 93?
Yes, with some edits. Yes.
Okay. Senator Van Hollen is on hold, and we have a question from Senator Jackson.
Sure.
We'll take that question, and then we want to thank you very much for your presentation. But again, please feel free to reach out to all of us with more information. Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Quick ask. I looked at your pie chart. I did not see the Archdiocese. Can you either send information to us or let us know the Archdiocese support for your organization in particular, since your numbers are growing? So
yes. Well, I can tell you right off the bat, it's typically less than 1% of our annual budget as an agency.
Could we speak offline if you get that information to the entire delegation? But I would love to speak offline with you about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you. That was a very important question, and thank you for sharing that. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We are really, is Senator Van Hollen ready?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much for once more being with us. I will simply say that you've always allocated time to talk with us and to give us updates, and for that we're very appreciative, particularly now that you're our senior senator representing the great state of Maryland.
Well, thank you, Chair Patterson, and I want to thank you and the entire Southern Maryland delegation from Charles County, Calvert, St. Mary's for all the good work you do. Having served in the Maryland General Assembly, I know this is a crazy busy 90 days, and you've got lots of big issues on the burner. And so I appreciate the chance to say a few words, because we're also facing some huge issues here at the federal level that directly impact all of us. And so that's why it's always important to keep an open line of communication. And I'm pleased to be joined on this call by Roderick Lewis, who's my regional director in Southern Maryland. And it was great to see you, Madam Chair, and others not that long ago when I was visiting Charles County for the down at Indian Head for some of the U.S. Bomb Technician Association work being done there, as well as for the Southern Maryland Woodlands National Wildlife Refuge opening. And so it was good to see many of you there. Let me, and I should say, you mentioned you're right. I've now taken on the responsibilities of senior senator. I don't know if I like that term. It feels like I got to get my cane out, but I am really pleased to be joined in the United States Senate by Angela Alsor-Brooks, and she has hit the ground running. We work closely together, talk every day for the interests of Maryland. And just yesterday, I convened the first meeting of the Maryland congressional delegation, 10 of us, the 2 senators, 8 members of the House, including, of course, Congressman Hoyer, Congressman who's obviously works a whole lot, and Congressman Ivey, who I was just talking to actually on another call. So we got together to outline our plan for helping the state of Maryland and Southern Maryland. And I just want to highlight a couple big challenges that I think we all know we have coming at us. Elections, of course, have consequences, and the new Trump administration is moving very quickly on a lot of fronts that could impact Maryland, and many of them, in my view, in a not a positive way. So one of them relates to the federal civil service. We have a merit-based civil service in the United States right now. This is something that we adopted in the 1880s. People are hired based on their experience, their qualifications. It's based on what you know, not who you know. And through something called Schedule F, the Trump administration is trying to replace, at least in the first instance, about 50,000 positions that are merit-based and convert them into politically based, and so opening the door to this political cronyism. And I think that should worry a lot of people, not just people who represent federal employees, but actually it will have a harmful impact on the quality of services delivered to people throughout the country. If you have people who are hired based on their political litmus test as opposed to their qualifications. So there are about 30,000 federal employees in Southern Maryland. On top of that, you have contractors that could be impacted. And I should say that 30,000 does not include many of the military, personnel at places like Pax River or Indian Head. So that's just sort of civil servants. So this could have a bad impact on the country and also have this harmful regional impact. So we're working very hard to try to stop this effort to convert positions from merit-based to politically based, including through litigation. We have legislation as well, but in this environment, that legislation is obviously tougher to get through. So that's one issue that I wanted to put on the table. The other is I sit on the Senate Budget Committee. We had the hearing just this week for the president's choice for that position. His name is Russ Vought. He is the architect of the project, one of the key architects of the Project 2025 plan. And I asked him a direct question, as did Senator Murray, about whether or not he intended to comply with something called the Impoundment Control Act. And he refused to say that he would comply with it. Now, this is an important federal law that prevents the president from cherry picking the things that the president likes in an appropriations bill that's passed by the Congress and rejecting others. So when Congress comes up with a deal on, say, an appropriations bill, both houses vote for it, the House and the Senate, on a bipartisan basis. We get it through, and then a president signs it. That becomes the law of the land. And what Russ Vought was saying was that the Trump administration is thinking about, once the bill's passed into law, deciding that they will not enact certain provisions or certain policies. This is, in our view, very unconstitutional, and it will be litigated if they do it. But I wanted to mention that because Southern Maryland has benefited from a number of the investments we made in the infrastructure bill and other pieces of federal legislation. And if their position is you can either claw back some of those benefits, or going forward, they can discard what they don't like, even though the Congress passed it on a bipartisan basis. This is a big issue. Finally, We passed last year as part of the federal budget lots of important federal programs that help Southern Maryland, but we also passed, working together with our House colleagues, investments through what we call congressionally directed spending to help various projects, many nonprofits in Southern Maryland, to the tune of $11 million. This year, in the current pending appropriations bill, we have additional funds, including $50 million for the military construction of the contained burn center at Indian Head. We have this in as a congressionally designated project. We also have another tranche of $5 million for the Southern Maryland Rapid Transit project. We've been continuing over the years to provide federal funding. We're up to now at least $15 million. It requires a state match. But in the bill that's pending right now, that's for fiscal year 2025, we have that 50 million plus the 5 million. The current fiscal, we're right now operating at the federal level on a continuing resolution. So our fiscal year began October 1st. We have not yet enacted a new budget for fiscal year 25. We're on automatic pilot. We're in what's called a continuing resolution. That continuing resolution will expire on March 15th, so not too far from now. And if we don't succeed in getting a full year budget, those important investments that I mentioned will disappear. And so it's very important that we work, and we're trying to work on a bipartisan basis to not continue on a straight continuing resolution, which would not include those important investments, but to include them in the new budget going forward. So I just wanted to mention that. There are, of course, many other issues that we're facing at the federal level, but I wanted to hit those points, and then happy to try and answer your questions. Again, thanks for having me, and thanks for all your good work.
Well, thank you so much, Senator Van Hollen. And I think that some of the issues you cited are just the tip of the iceberg, because we have citizens who are concerned about ICE and so many other issues that are coming down the pike. I want to also say to you, thank you for hiring Roderick Lewis. He keeps us well informed, and I hope that he will be on future meetings so that if there are updates or issues that you want him to present to us while we're in session, we will do so. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now, Kara, if you can help me, are there any questions or hands raised?
No hands at the moment.
Well, I know
Here
that.
we go, Senator Jackson.
Oh, thank you. Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to say good morning to our senior senator, and that is that's a compliment, not anything else. So, look, at the end of the day, one of the beauties of having the connection with our federal team is that they do have history with the General Assembly, and that's huge for us. And understanding the challenges that we sometimes come up against, but looking forward to the team working together. When you talk about all the issues that we're hoping can stay on the table out at the federal level, we're also doing the same here in Maryland. So a few of us, you'll have an opportunity to be on a few calls with because we do represent a broad swath of jurisdictions. But we're your partner. And we certainly are going to need your partnership as we move forward. As the governor has plans on housing, which we sorely need in our state. That means those transportation opportunities and the other resources that are on the table and that you mentioned are so vital. So I look forward to continuing to work with you, as we move forward and working with that dynamic team of you and our former county executive, Angela Lawson Brooks, that was Senate level. So thank you, sir.
Well, Senator Jackson, thank you. It's great to connect with you this morning and the other members of the delegation. But I agree with you. We just got to keep these lines of communication open because what you do in Annapolis impacts all of our constituents, and what we do at the federal level impacts all of our constituents. And from their perspective, it doesn't always matter whether it's something that's happening at the state level or the federal level, the local level. It just impacts their daily lives. So it's always good to work with you. And thanks for your leadership.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Delegate Davis has a question.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator, thank you so much for your commitment to SMRT. It will make a big difference for Charles County, and as you well know. But I didn't overlook that, and that wasn't, we didn't play that off. That is very important to us, and I appreciate your commitment. Thank you.
Well, thank you for underscoring that project and the fact that there's federal funds, there's state funds, and we this was a lot of people didn't think we would be able to get this moving, and working together with so many of you, we were able to get it moving. We have the federal fund. We just have to see this through, and I know you agree. So thank you, and thanks for all your leadership.
Well, again, thank you so much, Senator, and thank you, colleagues, for the question. And we have no doubt with your leadership, Senator Van Hollen, we'll get that $5 million.
All right, we'll keep at it. And thank you.
Thank you. With that very much ties into the next George Clark, the Senate Bill 20, Maryland Transit Administration, mandatory funding. Kara sent a letter out requesting that we support this. Are there any questions of the members in terms of our sending this out under my signature?
I think John is available to speak from the Transportation Association of Maryland, just to give a little background on SB 20.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
May I?
Good morning.
Hi, such a pleasure to be here with you all. I, of course, am John DeKlusky. I'm the Executive Director of the Transportation Association of Maryland. We are the nonprofit trade association that represents the interests of community transportation in our state. That includes every single local transit agency in the state, the MTA, and of course, including Calvert, St. Mary's, and Charles County, who provide over 1 million trips per year to constituents in your districts. I'm here on behalf of SB 20. SB 20 is a, thankfully, very simple bill to understand. And the goal of SB 20 is to prevent a repeat of what happened to state support for local transit funding over the past 10-year period. So in 2015, state support for local transit from the Transportation Trust Fund was about $107 million. Today, by statute, that is set at no less than $80.5 million. So that has been an absolute decrease of close to $27 million over the last 10 years. Now, according to the federal government, inflation over that 10-year period has been about 33%. Our members have seen over 33% cost inflation in items such as buses, diesel fuel, especially new electric buses, just in the past 5 years alone. And if you were to extend that out to a 10-year time period, overall cost increases for just capital items for running a local transit system have gone up by over 50%. And this is at a time when state support for those numbers have substantially decreased. A couple of quick numbers. The goal is that the federal government should pay for 50% of overall operating, local should pay for 25, state should pay for 25. In the most recent fiscal year that we have data for, that number was about 38% local for rural and 13% for state.
Okay,
For small,
we're going to run out of time. We're going
oh, sorry.
We have to get off by 10. So the letter is can it be sent to all the members, or was it sent to all the members, Kara?
Yes, it was sent to all the members yesterday for their approval.
All right, so we will make sure that the members get a chance to either vote up or down the letter to be sent or any modifications. So it's 10 o'clock. John, thank you so very much. and we may have you come back again should there be any questions about SB 20. All right. I want to thank everyone for being online, and remember that February 20th is Southern Maryland Delegation Reception, and we will devote more time to that next meeting. All right. Thank you so much, and have a great day.